We are making the perfect dinner rolls that will sure to be a hit on your holiday table, whether you are going to be making them for Thanksgiving or for your Christmas or holiday table this time of year. You just need a good recipe for dinner rolls. And if you have been around here a while, then these rolls will look familiar. But again, we haven't shed light on them in years. And they are the dinner rolls that I have been making for over a decade that everybody loves. They are fluffy. They are so delicious. You are going to love them. So many of you have made them throughout the years, and you make them for every holiday, and you always tag me on Instagram to show me, and it makes my whole year. So I'm thrilled to be able to share them with you again. So if you're new around here, these are it. These are the only dinner roll recipe you're ever gonna need. They fall, like they are fluffy, they pull apart so beautifully. They're just anything and everything. So let's get started with making the dough. I'm gonna be using my standing mixer just to make life a little bit easier. In here, I've got all-purpose flour. I can literally make these with my eyes shut because I've been making them for so long. But to that, you're gonna add some sugar. Then you're gonna add your yeast. I will list the yeast that I'm using down below because it is an instant yeast, which means it does not need to be activated in any warm water. So once you have those three things in, I don't add the salt quite yet, but I go ahead and I add some warm milk. Warm, like 25 seconds in the microwave will do. You don't want it to be hot and you don't want it to be cold. And then to that, we are going to add 2 eggs. This is the only thing over the last 10 years that I have changed about this recipe because the original recipe calls for 3 egg yolks and I changed it to 2 full eggs, and it just same great results. But the reason I did that, it was because I was tired of wasting egg whites because I would separate them. I would put them in the back of my fridge and then I would forget, and then the egg whites would go to waste. And if you know me, you know I don't like food waste at all, not even a little bit. So that I just remedied that by adding 2 whole eggs instead, and it was perfect. And you can see it's all in one bowl, so it could not get any easier. And now to that, you're gonna go ahead and add some soft unsalted butter. And as it starts to knead, I'm going to sprinkle in my salt. In the original recipe, I just wanted to turn this off so that you could hear me. In the original recipe, I call for 1 teaspoon of salt. That's because way back when I used to use fine table salt, but I no longer use that, so I will have it listed in the recipe that I am calling for coarse kosher salt for this, but it'll all be listed anyway. I'm gonna just start to sprinkle it in. My dough is ready. You can see it's tacky, not super smooth, but good. It's been kneading for like 2.5, 3 minutes. I have a lightly oiled bowl, and I'm just gonna go ahead and dunk that right in there. I like to flip it. It's perfect. It shouldn't be like wet. It should just be tacky, you know? And I'm gonna go ahead and cover this with some plastic wrap and leave it somewhere warm to rise until doubled. Here's the thing that I want to mention because it is an important thing to note. This is known as an enriched dough, which means there's fat in here, there's milk, there's butter, there's eggs. All of those components are very heavy, which just make the rising process a little bit slower. So say this was like a bread dough where all I have in here is water, yeast, and salt, and a little bit of sugar and some flour. This would rise to double in about an hour. But because we have all those heavy fats, it's gonna take about 3 hours for it to double in size. And here's what I would suggest for you is if you were making this for your big day, make the dough the night before, cover it, leave it at room temperature for say 2 hours, then pop it into the fridge overnight. The next morning, bring it out so that it can come to room temperature for a couple of hours, shape it into your rolls, then let them rise for their last rise and bake them last minute. That way, you're not having to do the dough and everything the morning of if you don't want to. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this for now because I have one already ready. Because in this house, the one thing we are never gonna be out of is bread. We are never gonna be out of carbs. So I'm gonna just set this aside and get my other dough. All right, it's been about 3 hours and this is what your dough should look like. And before I go any further with this, I'm gonna take some flour and I'm going to coat my bench, my work surface well. And then I'm gonna deflate it. Use a bench scraper or a dough scraper to help you get this out, just because it's gonna be easier. Get it all out of here. And they already smell like sweet, delicious, fluffy rolls. And they're not even baked yet, you know? Where's my scraper? The dough is just perfect every single time. It doesn't fail me, you know? It's one of those things that just does not fail me. Just want to make sure that you keep everything. So you sort of flatten it out. I do this with my hands, but you can also use a rolling pin. And I roll it out a bit, not too big, like that. And I want to get a good 16. I'll show you what I do, because this is just easy, okay? I just cut it in half. I've been doing this new roll method and I really like it. Like that. And then, so I cut them into 8 strips and then cut those strips in half like that. And then I just take each one, and you can just roll them into a ball, but I've been loving this little roll shape like that. And then I place them on a 9 by 13 inch pan that I have laid with some parchment paper. These are gonna be really nice. You can make them smaller if you want, and then you'll get like 24. If you wanna cut the strips into 12 and then cut those in half, then you'll have 24 rolls. That's up to you, you know? I'm just gonna keep rolling these, and then I'm gonna set them aside so that they can rest for like 20 minutes before I pop them into the oven. All right, they have rested. You can see they've definitely swollen a bit, they've risen a bit, which is perfect. These are gonna go into the oven that I have preheated at 350, 20-ish minutes or so, or until they are a beautiful golden brown color. Then we'll let them sit to rest for a bit. We're gonna whip up a really delicious maple butter to spread on them, because I think so. And then we dive in. I was gonna say then we divine. They will be divine, and we will dive in. My rolls baked for about 22 minutes and they smell fantastic. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of melted butter. You can do this one or two ways. If you wanna just take softened butter and then add some maple syrup to it and then mix it and set it to the table so people can spread it on their rolls, that's a great way to go. And to be honest, I often do that, and I will most likely do both. Or you can take a little bit of melted butter, add some maple syrup, and then just brush that all over. And if you do this while they're still slightly warm, it will kind of like soak up that butter and that sweetness. And I'm telling you, they're next level. These rolls are beloved by literally millions of you, and they have been for a decade for a reason. They're very forgiving. If you want to get perfect and weigh each ball of dough so that they're all the perfect shape and size, you can. But if you've been here a long time, you know that unless we must, out of whatever reason, I don't know if you can see this, but look how beautiful. I'm gonna pull them apart. They are sensational. But what I was saying was, unless it's like a complete requirement for whatever reason, I'm simply not going to do that. I want you to see the texture because it's important. It's like a pillow. It's like a pillow. You cannot understand. Oh. Look at this. You simply cannot appreciate these unless you make them. So good. Too good. Easy. You must do the maple butter, whether you put it on there or spread it on top, I don't care. You must. I'm gonna make the dough ahead of time so that it really makes things easy for you. They're the best. Go to LauraInTheKitchen.com for the written recipe. Hope you enjoyed spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.